Good afternoon, everyone. IceAgeNow.info. Why this solar minimum will be different. Weakened electromagnetic field on the sun, Earth's magnetosphere weakening, tied into magnetic fields that shift wind patterns. More heavier, powerful cycles culminate, 5 cycles. And how dare I talk about orbital eccentricity, Earth-changing events, Carrington, aurora sightings, widespread Arctic blast, century records being broken. We are definitely in a cycle, and Utah sees perhaps the lowest October temperature ever recorded in the continental U.S., minus 43 degrees Fahrenheit. Add in a twist of economic inflationary models, and whoa, this decade is going to be interesting. Welcome to the end of 2019. And here at Adapt 2030, I thought it would be fun to do some designs that might trigger the global warming alarmist. Remember how Al Gore told us, your children will never know what snow was? Yeah, me too. So anyways, this t-shirt and hoodie design will only be available for the rest of November, and it helps support the channel. It's not CO2, it's not you, it's the sun. Available on Teespring. And let us know what you think about the idea in the comment box below the video. Starting over here on IceAgeNow.info, Robert Felix's site. Wow, there are so many articles talking about the descent into a grand solar minimum and what it means for our society, both economically, but when we come on the physical aspects, the sun's electromagnetic field is weakening. Now keep in mind, being an electrical receiver ourselves, this could explain a lot of the strangeness, agitation, and just can't put your finger on something's changing kind of feeling that the entire planet's experiencing right now. You know, our magnetosphere is weakening on this planet. So these magnetic fields are also the drivers or the shifters of wind patterns, cloud cells, and the intertropical convergence zone. So all these factors are moving, changing, and morphing as we speak and as we move in through the next couple of decades here. This off Tall Bloke's site, taking a look at solar cycle 25, forecast to be lower than 24, yet not to the 0 point where we would expect something in the Maunder minimum to return. Now looking at Valentina Zarkova's work again, I brought this up here because you see how they're coupled in fives. So the grand solar minimum is a single cycle, but you notice how they couple into fives there as a heavier, more powerful cycle. So could we expect faster changes than just a regular 400-year periodicity? This is what a lot of people are starting to ask the questions about right now. Things seem to be amplified and happening more quickly than anticipated with this magnetic wandering, polar wander, if you will. And again, this climate debate's only ever phrased in 150 or 200 years, but why don't we go back and look at 4,000 years of temperature dips and then returns to warmth naturally. And this one off the orbital resonance model comparing beryllium-10, which is a marker for cosmic rays, as well as total solar irradiance. Now that's all fine and dandy, the science behind it, but the graphic here shows you where the dips were, and when you see a dip, you saw a decline in civilization and the unraveling of threads of societies during these times. We're back at it again, and we're still not talking about it. This push for global warming, everything's warming, when they're totally forgetting that it's a cycle in the sun, and we're back at it again, and we should look in the past to see what our future might be. And oh, how dare you ever bring up Milankovitch cycles. Those are on too long of a time scale to even affect our Earth, or so they say. And these are in hundreds of thousands of years, to up to 800 either into the future or back into the past is 800,000 years. So you're looking at 1.6 million years of time right here on this chart. Let's talk about longer cycles. So take a look at that 0 point and look where we are edging toward that every year, further and further down into that dip. And then when you might start to match different events on our planet to how the heavens were behaving at the time, where the planets sat in their orbits in our solar system, I'll forget that. And also, how quickly do we forget our past, these cataclysmic events or world-ending type of things that people thought? Judgment Day was here. Shooting stars, 1833. 250,000 estimated shooting stars in a single evening. It really looked like this. And if we're getting this kind of cosmic bombardment going through the tail of a comet that we go through every single year, when will this heavy barrage come back to us? And why is everybody forgetting even these very large events that happened less than 200 years ago? What about the Carrington event? That would literally fry our society's electronics today in parts of the world where the sunlight was striking the surface for however long those particles were reaching us. Where did they cite auroras during the Carrington event? Clear down in South America. This gives you a good indication of how intense the event was, but all you hear is Carrington event. It's rare that you find charts like this. I'm super happy that I dug it out. It's in the description box below. All the links to tonight's videos and graphics. And if global warming were true, we wouldn't have this Arctic blast so early in the year, the third blizzard that has swept over the crop grow zones. Hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands now, of cold temperature records, all-time cold smashed, not just by a little, but some of the new records were 20 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the oldest record that had stood for 120 or 140 years. This is incredible. The signs around us that are saying, pinpointing something significant is happening, and people still want to squabble whether it's CO2. It's far past that. We need to start talking about solutions on how our society is going to grow enough food moving forward. Record cold temperatures spinning into the southern plains, clear down to Mexico. We got record snow in Algeria. Also a record crop harvest in Algeria. Looks like that 4,000-year rain pattern's moving right over the grow zones of North Africa. And off Climate Depot, Mark Morano's site, exceptional read in here. Utah sees record cold, 43.6 degrees Fahrenheit below zero, perhaps the lowest October temperature ever recorded in the continental U.S. just a couple weeks back. If that would have been a heat record, this would have been front page news globally. And what the interesting thing is, the old cold record of 14 degrees Fahrenheit that stood all the way from 1874, and to put that into context, if all the information is true and what we're seeing here, the new cold record was 50 degrees Fahrenheit colder than the record set in 1874. And this is not in Alaska or in Antarctica. It's in Utah, of all places. Makes you think for a second, doesn't it? And I pulled this graph here, temperatures from 1800 to present day. Armagh, Northern Ireland, and Ireland again and again and again and again and again and again and again has been touted as warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. Yet the chart you see there says otherwise, because they're always pinging on that station to use to say it's warming twice as fast as the rest of the world in Armagh. Which brings us up to the last point here, the economic confidence model. If we're looking into hyperinflationary or inflationary waves in these economic models, isn't it interesting that 2024, that same exact date that keeps rolling around again and again, magnetic field coupling or decoupling in the sun, new trade treaties, the rollout of 5G, everything needs to be finished by 2023. And here we are, 2024, at that peak on the inflationary wave, at least in this cycle, according to Martin Armstrong. It's all too coincidental, all these dates matching up. And how prepared are you for emergencies? Whether you buy something from Patriot Supply, because they do have the 2-week grab-and-go food crate, or the 4-week food supply, you should be getting your own supplies ready. They're making it a little bit easier because you just open the lid and you pull out your serving. But you can do some of these things yourself. Have you been to the store to take a look at what types of tins of fish are out there? What kind of flour is available? What kind of bulk beans? Are you looking at the store to see what you can buy and preserve yourself? I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. It seems like some major events are on the horizon again, and we've forgotten even our recent history of what would be considered massive events on the planet. 200 years is not a long time when we're looking at 800,000 years in the cycles. I encourage you to do more research. All the links are in the description box below, and I will see you next video.